Hey, wonderful, beautiful people, a pleasant afternoon to everybody. Now listen to me, beautiful people. There is a man that I follow. And I encourage everyone to listen to him because it will be the transforming agent or encounter in your life. And it is imperative that people begin to live a life that is wholesome, that is meaningful. You don't want to know that you're on this earth and you really have not made a significant contribution, especially as it relates to human resource. And I just, so it's I wouldn't even say coincidentally, because it's really God incidentally came upon a particular post about leadership and mentorship. What the true essence of leadership and mentorship are, both of them, or the true essence is, I should say. And the late great and esteemed notable Dr. Myles Munroe really emitted one in a 46 or 49 minutes YouTube video that I listened to, and I actually played it maybe 2 or 3 times, because it was really powerful. And unfortunately, in our Western Hemisphere, predominant in third world country, and I'm going to look in particular Jamaica, most people have not embodied true leadership. I'm going to make several parts to this because simply they were not taught, they were not trained. Like learning literacy and financial literacy, there has to be leadership literacy. And most leaders across sectors, across companies, across churches, across entities have not been trained. What has happened actually is that a lot of bad teaching and bad principle have been observed by people. When the leaders leave and new leaders emerge, which may not necessarily God inspired, is that the same bad principle becomes even more erroneous, becomes even more chronic, becomes even more acute. And we find that this baton of bad leadership and poor leadership passes on, And we continue the cycle of leading people down the hole or the rabbit hole. And it says, and when I listened to him, he said, most people were not formally trained as effective leaders. As such, they carry on the baton, and some of the words I'm putting in, of poor and bad leadership. Leadership really is supposed to be a passage for others to become leaders. That's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand. Leadership is not solo. It is not a solo move. It's not a solo walk. When you're an effective leader produces other leaders. Naturally, let us use a car manufacturer. A car manufacturer doesn't just produce one good car. Even if it is their creme de la creme, their flagship motor vehicle, they produce several of them, of the flagship vehicle, whether it's a Rolls Royce, a Bugatti, you name some of them. Tesla, all of them. You don't have one single Rolls Royce, you don't have one single Bugatti or Mercedes Benz or whatever the motor vehicle is. You have several of them. So similarly, when we think of leaders, a good leader produces other good leaders. And I want to make this interjection to the point of that person becoming better than you. To the point of that person becoming better than you. Yes, I know that's very hard to hear. And what has happened is that many leaders are insecure leaders. They lead through insecurity. They lead through arrogance. They lead through pride, as opposed to leading through love, as opposed to leading through compassion, as opposed to leading through good stewardship. So, for example, when you look in churches, sometimes you find deacons fighting over positions in churches, pastors assassinating. When I say assassinating or annihilating, I don't mean necessarily physically, well, hopefully, but they assassinate the character of others, the reputation of, I should say, more reputation than character, because character is who somebody is. They assassinate the reputation of others in order to maintain the status quo, in order to maintain their post, or in order to get on to a particular post. And onlookers look and they see this kind of poor leadership, bad leadership, and it is something that they're taught, like the child development stages. They are learning, and it is now becoming a part because their senses are feeling all of this. The senses are feeling all of this, and then they're passing, and then when they grow up, they're now full blown with a bad leadership virus. They're full blown with a poor leadership virus. It has metamorphosized from poor leadership or bad leadership into worse or worst kind of leadership. You know, like how you have similar to how you have the HIV virus that transforms, metamorphosizes into AIDS. Similarly, bad and poor leadership metamorphosize into worst, malevolent leaders, sinister leaders. Most leaders are not trained. Here in Jamaica, most leaders, you look across companies, you look across entities, most leaders are not trained because they also lack the confidence to delegate. They don't want to delegate because in the back of their minds, he or she is going to take over. Not understanding that if that person takes over, it means that you did a good job, that leader did a very good job. Because it means your produce was good. You contributed to growth and development in a better way than your predecessor. So even if that leader who you're training becomes better than you, the credit goes to you. Mahatma Gandhi and quite a number of people, Martin Luther King Sr. hired quite a number of people, which included Mahatma Gandhi, you know, to be one of mentors to his son, Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. would have accomplished far more internationally than Martin Luther King Sr. But Martin Luther King Sr. saw the bigger picture. He was an effective leader in his home and in his church and otherwise, because he said, I am a replica of whom my own father or parents, and I'm going to ensure that my son gets a better training. I can't do it in and of myself, so I'm going to employ these individuals, not to spread rumor, not to spread propaganda as many leaders do, to tear down the reputation of others, but I'm going to employ these people so that my son can be better than I am. So that my deacon can become better than I am. So that my elder can become better than I am. So that that church member can become better than I am. It therefore means I'm putting in the right ingredients to cook this meal. And I'm not going to allow jealousy or envy in malicious and malignant ways to overthrow this, because I'm seeing the bigger picture. It means growth and development for my home. It means growth and development for my community. It means growth and development for the society. It means growth and development for my country. It means ultimately growth and development for my country at large. And what has happened is that he has sown a seed of legacy, that when we think of and we study the historicity of Martin Luther King Jr., we realize it is because of Martin Luther King Jr. Obviously, God is the ultimate, but we're talking in terms of human intervention. Because of Martin Luther King Sr. And then he's the you have God, then you have the senior, and then you have the little strings coming down, which Gandhi and the other men and women who would have contributed to the life and to the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. So jealousy they had no time to employ jealousy. They had no time to employ envy. Because they saw the bigger picture, that even though my son is greater than I am, even though my deacon or my elder or this co-worker is greater than I am, I see the bigger picture, because the next person that comes in contact with that person that I've trained will even become greater. So you see the ripple effect, and the credit will come to me. That is what they don't understand. But unfortunately, you know, the jealousy and the envy have twisted their brain and make them seem inferior, in which they're not. They've actually been superior, not superior to the people, but superior to the woes of life, superior to the unholy spirit, to the fruits of the unholy spirit. And they have sown good seeds. That is why they train people to become better, to take over, and that legacy comes to them. Anyway, guys, look out for the next video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Give me a like and subscribe to my